October is literally right around the corner, ladies and gentlemen. We're getting closer and closer, inching our way into that spooky, horror Halloween season. And what better way to, talk about, Halloween and movies than with Halloween itself, the movie. And this film, this is a classic. Halloween, this film is a fucking classic. Directed by John Carpenter. Also did the score. John Carpenter also did the score for this film. He also co-wrote this film with its producer, Deborah Hill, and it stars Donald Pleasance. I believe that's how you pronounce I believe that's how you pronounce the last name. And Jamie Lee Curtis in her film debut. I don't know if that's true or not. I don't know. Like, is that true? Like, this is Jamie Lee Curtis very first filmography, like film debut, like her film breakout role or whatever you want to call it. But anyway, this film is set mostly in the fictional Illinois town of Haddonfield. The film follows mental patient Michael Myers, who is committed to a sanitarium for murdering his teenage sister one Halloween night during his childhood. He escapes 15 years later and returns to Haddonfield, where he stalks teenage babysitter Laurie Strode and her friends while his psychiatrist, Dr. Samuel Loomis, pursues him. All right. So yeah, like, this film really started this ginormous, franchise, and it became this ginormous franchise. And there's I think there are comic books. This film would lead to a ginormous franchise, including comic books and video games. I just watched, ladies and gentlemen, I think they're making a brand new Halloween video game that's coming out next year. I saw that trailer for it alongside the Wolverine video game trailer. But anyway, very exciting, and looks great. But yeah, so how do I want to talk about this? How do I want to break this movie down? So, back in the day, I reviewed all the Halloween movies and compiled them all in one video. But recently, last month, I was just not a fan of how I was talking and the way it was all edited, and I didn't like it. So I deleted that video, and I'm deciding to start from scratch. So Halloween, let's talk about the positives. And yes, there will be spoilers. I will be breaking this movie apart in detail, so you guys are warned if you haven't seen this movie. All right. Spoilers everywhere. Beware. This movie, it's such an original film, plot line for the time. It has this film also has an amazing music score with a very memorable theme song. Like, when you hear that piano, that spine chilling piano, music, like, that's the score. You're like, oh my god, that's the Halloween. That's Michael Myers, John Carpenter's Halloween theme. Like, it's so iconic and so memorable. Michael Myers, this film would, like I said, it would start a franchise. Michael Myers will soon become a household name, and become a pop icon in the horror Halloween, world. Michael Myers has become one of the most popular, slash iconic, see right there, slash iconic slasher movies, villains in film history, alongside, the likes of Leatherface from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Chucky from Child's Play, Jason Voorhees from the Friday the 13th franchise, and Freddy Krueger from A Nightmare on Elm Street. and Ghostface. Let's not forget about Ghostface. And Ghostface, even though A Nightmare on Elm Street, the first Nightmare on Elm Street, and Ghostface, and I believe, I don't know what year, I forgot what year the very first Friday the 13th movie came out with yeah, I totally forgot. But yeah, A Nightmare on Elm Street and Scream, obviously, those movies came out after this film. But anyway, yeah, like this movie, like Michael Myers is such an iconic, slasher villain, slasher, Halloween movie villain, alongside the ones that I mentioned. And also the fact that Michael Myers is just a plain human being with no supernatural powers makes him even more of a terrifying figure, or so we think. Until like the very end of the movie, where Dr. Samuel Loomis shoots him like 10 times, shoots him like 5 to like 10 times, and he falls down. Like the second floor of the house, and then they go and check up on him, and he just magically disappears. So I think we all thought, like, okay, he's just, when we watched this movie, we all thought, like, Michael Myers is just a plain human being, like a serial killer. But it seems like there might be something supernatural at the very end of this movie. And also his breathing, behind the mask, is just so creepy. It's so creepy, and it kind of reminds me of something like Darth Vader's breathing. It's so iconic. It's so creepy, and it's so iconic, and it makes Michael Myers. It's one of the things that make Michael Myers who he is. There are some suspenseful and memorable scenes in this film that you guys will definitely enjoy, including me, that I enjoyed. And this film, like I said over and over again, it spawned a critically acclaimed horror franchise. I mean, and it launched the careers of many currently well-known stars, such as the one and only Jamie Lee Curtis, who is the main actor of this film. And it has a wonderful and chilling cinematography for the 70s. I mean, of course, it's the 70s. Of course, it's the late 70s. But for the 70s, with all that with all the cinematography, it looks good. It looks wonderful for the time. Obviously, comparing it to like modern, cinematography, it's outdated. It's very much outdated, obviously. But for its time, I think it's pretty good. The lighting in this film is well done and fits with the movie's tone, especially for the final half of the movie. It has become a classic Halloween favorite by many horror movie fans, and it shows, that John Carpenter has a very decent, high-level experience as a director and both as a director and a music composer. There are some, I mean, not some, maybe, okay, some is a lot. Maybe there are a few likable, interesting characters. I mean, Jamie Lee Curtis, Laurie Strode and Dr. Samuel Loomis are the only two characters that I really care about. I don't care about Laurie's friends, the acting in this movie, just from her friends. I just don't buy it. It's really bad. I'm sorry for those actresses, but it's not really good compared to Jamie's acting performance. But yeah, there's some good acting from Jamie Lee Curtis, Donald, and Nick Castle, who plays Michael Myers. Even though he doesn't say anything, he's completely mute. All he does is just wear a mask and just walk around very slow and stalk Jamie Lee Curtis. Is pretty much all he's doing. But for what he was given, I thought Nick did a fine job. Dr. Loomis's, his description of Michael Myers being very emotionless is one of the most memorable, spine-chilling pieces of dialogue in cinema history. The way, it's his monologue, or not. It's either a monologue or an exposition. I don't think it's about him explaining about his experience about his face-to-face, physical experience with Michael Myers, and that he doesn't see a little boy. All he sees is like pure evil. All he saw was like pure black, the color black, pure evil. The boogeyman is what he saw, is what Dr. Loomis saw. And I thought that that dialogue was so creepy. It's so eerie, and I love it. And Donald Pleasance, rest in peace, rest his soul, delivered that line extraordinarily well. A very unpredictable ending showing this movie has a very unpredictable ending showing Michael cannot be stopped, and makes the viewers wonder what will happen in the sequel if you haven't seen any of the sequels. There are some POV shots that show Michael's mask and his face not being revealed throughout most of the film until the climax. That just makes him look even more intimidating. The death scenes are fine. They're nicely done. The poster is very iconic. It's a very iconic posters. And that's pretty much all I wrote down when it comes to like the positives. There's only 2 issues I have. There are some 2 issues I have with this movie. The first one was they're not really issues. They're more like nitpicks. There are a few elements like the first person POV shots and the stalker idea that are similar to the original Black Christmas film, which I did see. This I think if I look back, I finally saw the original Black Christmas movie with Margot Kidder last Christmas, not last Christmas, last December. But yeah, there are some similarities to that, but whatever. The deaths in this movies are limited to being silent most of the time. Thankfully, its sequels improves on the deaths. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say. And there are some fun facts. All right, there are some fun facts about this movie, and I'll tell you guys all about it right now. John Carpenter's idea to make this movie, Halloween, was inspired by Bob Clark's 1974 horror dark comedy film Black Christmas, which I just mentioned which is pretty cool. Another fun fact, Jamie Lee Curtis is the daughter of Janet Leigh, another famous scream queen who is well known for her performance as Marion Crane in Psycho. You guys are gonna hate me for this. All right, you guys are definitely gonna hate me for saying this, but I've never seen Psycho. Yeah, I know, I've never seen Psycho, but you know what? October, it's October, Halloween is coming soon. I gotta get up to it, all right? I gotta get up to it. There are dozens of like horror Halloween movies that I need to see, and Psycho is one of them. All right, it's a classic. I don't think there are like remakes or reboots of Psycho, just the original one. And another fun fact, the film was originally going to be titled The Babysitter Murders, but I'm glad they changed that. From The Babysitter Murders to Halloween, because like I said, it sounds too similar to the Black Christmas, to the premise of the Black Christmas movie, and just leaving it as just Halloween. I like that. I like that. It's simple, it's short, simple, but very nice. But yeah, Halloween will go on and become a widely influential film within the horror genre. It was largely responsible for the popularization of slasher films in the 1980s and helped develop the slasher genre. Halloween, would later popularize many tropes that have become completely synonymous with the slasher genre. Halloween helped to popularize the final girl trope, the killing off of characters who are substance abusers or, sexually promiscuous, and the use of a theme song for the killer. Carpenter also shot many of the scenes from the perspective of the killer himself, Michael Myers, in order to build tension. These elements have become so established that many historians argue that Halloween is responsible for the new wave of horror that emerged during the 1980s. Due to its popularity, Halloween would later became a blueprint for success that many other horror films such as Friday the 13th and A Nightmare on Elm Street follow, and others like Scream gave nods towards. The major themes present in Halloween also became common in the slasher films it inspired. This film is just iconic. There are slasher films that predated Halloween, such as Silent Night, Bloody Night, which came out in 1972. This movie is 1978. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre in 74, and Black Christmas also 74, which contained prominent elements of the slasher genre, both involving a group of teenagers being murdered by a stranger as well as having the final girl trope. Halloween, however, is considered by many historians as being responsible for the new wave of horror films, like I said. But yeah, like it's great. It's great. Like as I mentioned. But yeah, like I love everything. I love so much about this movie. It's incredible and amazing, and John Carpenter really just knocked it out of the park with this film. His direction, his score, oh my god. And it's like it's one of the greatest iconic horror films like ever, like in history. It's legendary. This movie is legendary. It's fantastic. It's great. You guys should definitely check out Halloween if you guys haven't already. I mean, I'm sure you guys have seen it by now. It's been decades, right? So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that's all I have to say for Halloween. Thank you so much, everyone, for taking your time listening to my review, my thoughts on this film. Please like and subscribe. Definitely subscribe, because that would help me and my YouTube channel out a lot. I appreciate your support. I'm thankful for all of you. And yeah, I'll see you guys in my next video. Peace.